All right, let's talk about something we all experience every single day. Acoustics. We're going to break down how sound actually works inside a room and figure out why some places can make you sound amazing and others, well, not so much.
You know what I'm talking about, right? You've definitely noticed this. You're in a tiled bathroom and suddenly you sound like you could win a Grammy. But then you walk into your carpeted bedroom and your voice just sounds kind of dead. So what's the deal? It all comes down to how sound is bouncing around the room itself.
Okay, so let's get right into the core of it. The first thing you have to wrap your head around is that sound doesn't just travel in a nice straight line from a speaker to your ear. Nope, it shoots out in all directions and it ricochets off every single hard surface around you. This is where all our problems and solutions begin.
So really, we hear two kinds of sound in any given room. First, you've got the direct sound. That's the sound that makes a beeline straight from the source right to your eardrum. It's the fastest and purest version. But then you've got reflected sound. This is the sound that takes the scenic route. It bounces off a wall or the ceiling first, and because that path is longer, it always arrives at your ear a little bit later.
And we're not just talking about one little bounce here. I mean, think about it. Even the simplest, most basic box-shaped room has 4 walls, a ceiling, and a floor. That is 6 gigantic flat surfaces, and every single one of them is creating its own little army of reflections. You're basically getting bombarded by a massive wave of this delayed sound from every direction.
So, why does this even matter? What's so bad about sound arriving a little late? Well, this is where we meet the villain of our story. Because when that late arriving sound wave finally meets up with the original sound wave, they interfere with each other. And the result? Distortion.
Let's look at it visually. Here we have a nice, clean wave. This represents that original direct sound. It's exactly what we want to hear. Crisp, clear, and totally pure.
But then, here comes that reflected sound wave. See how it's the same shape? It's the same sound, it's just late to the party, because it took that longer path bouncing off a wall. And when they combine, you get this. A totally new, garbled, distorted shape. The peaks and valleys don't line up anymore. The fancy term for this is destructive interference, and it is the single biggest reason why sound gets muddy, harsh, or just plain weird in a room full of flat, hard surfaces.
Now you might be sitting there thinking, I can't hear any delay. And you know what? You're right. That's because this is all happening at an incredible speed. Sound travels at roughly 1,130 feet per second. It is ridiculously fast.
To really put that into perspective, in the time it takes you to snap your fingers, a single sound wave can bounce back and forth between 2 walls in a normal-sized room over 60 times. 60. The room just instantly fills with this storm of potentially destructive reflections. It is pure acoustic chaos.
Okay, so things sound a little bleak. We've got acoustic chaos everywhere. But don't worry, we have 2 heroes in our acoustic toolkit, 2 primary weapons that are specifically designed to fight back against this chaos and bring clarity back to our rooms. Let's meet them.
First up, we have absorption. The easiest way to think about an acoustic absorber, like a foam mantle, is that it basically tricks the sound wave. The sound energy goes into the panel where it gets converted into a tiny, tiny amount of heat, and it just doesn't come back out. It's like opening a window for sound. The reflection is either gone or drastically weakened.
And then we have our second hero, diffusion. Now, a diffuser plays a completely different game. It doesn't stop the bounce. Instead, it takes one big, strong, focused reflection and shatters it, scattering that energy into a whole bunch of smaller, weaker reflections that go off in all different directions. It breaks up that destructive interference without actually removing the sound energy from the room.
So you might be thinking, okay, problem solved. I'll just cover every square inch of my room with absorbers. But actually, it's not quite that simple. The real secret, the real magic, happens when you find the perfect balance between our 2 heroes.
See, if you only use absorption, you end up creating a room that just feels dead. The sound becomes muffled, dull, kind of claustrophobic, and just unnatural. It turns out that our brains don't like acoustically dead spaces. We're used to hearing some reflections. It tells us what kind of space we're in.
This really breaks it down perfectly. Absorption attacks the strength of the reflection. It turns the volume down. Diffusion, on the other hand, attacks the direction of the reflection. It scatters it. They're both tackling the same core problem, just from 2 different and very complementary angles.
So let's put it all together one last time. The problem? Our flat surfaces are creating a mess of delayed reflections. The effect? Those reflections crash into the original sound, causing that nasty, destructive interference that makes things sound bad. The solution? We use a smart combination of both absorption and diffusion to manage those reflections. And the ultimate goal? A room that sounds absolutely fantastic, clear, rich, and totally natural, not distorted and not artificially dead. So if you walk away with just one thing today, let it be this. Good room acoustics has almost nothing to do with soundproofing. It's not about blocking noise from the outside. It is all about intelligently managing and taming the reflections that are already bouncing around on the inside.
You see, every single room you're in is having this incredibly complex acoustic conversation all the time. And now, you kind of know the language it's speaking. So the next time you walk into a new space, just pause for a second. Your room has its own unique sound. The real question is, are you listening?